Welcome to another show, Making Pittsburgh Healthy, where we want to change this world. Obviously, we want to make Pittsburgh the healthiest place because it's where I live. But we want to transfer this not only through our country, but through the world. And today we have Dawes on the line. Eve is a fitness model, certified personal trainer, sports massage therapist, yoga, and spin instructor. She has been in many magazines, including Oxygen Magazine, Iron Man Magazine, Strong Magazine, in commercials, music videos. She was the current Mrs. Nevada in 2017. She also is the founder of Dawes Custom Cosmetics. And Eve, just accept my apology if I keep mispronouncing your name. It's hard, that English accent. I'm trying to do my best. But
you're doing great.
Welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here. And folks, we're going to talk a lot about fitness, mental health, training, and cosmetics, and what we're putting on our body that can be so destructive. And you're hearing from the best of the best. So Eve, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do for fun, and what gets you up in the morning.
Thanks so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff, so this could be a long show. Like you say, I've done a lot in my life. I don't sleep much, so I'm always on the go. What gets me up in the morning? Oh my gosh, that's normally either my cats who are hungry or my stomach that's hungry.
That's funny. So tell us about your background. You have, to get to Mrs. Nevada in 2017, and your journey to get there and then create a custom cosmetic line. I mean, you're changing the world. Where did this start when you were young?
It's so weird. It literally feels like everything fell into place. All the different pieces came together in this jigsaw. So I started dancing when I was 3 because I was hyperactive, in case you can't tell. And it was a way to channel my energy. And I knew at 7, I was like, I'm going to be a dancer. That's always how I've been. I'm like a terrier. When I have my mind set to something, I just run with it. I just have that mental discipline. And obviously dancing really shaped that discipline. So I went to professional dance school and I graduated and toured with the Vienna Festival Ballet. And then I went on to cruise ships. But what I saw a lot of with the dancing, I'm powering through this because obviously I'm 40, a lot of history to get to where we are today. I saw so much unhealthiness with the diet, with people starving themselves or taking drugs or doing whatever they needed to be in shape, putting their body through this brutal regime without nourishing it correctly. And I was like, there has to be a healthier way. So I really wanted to be able to help people when I retired for dancing, which is kind of what led me into the personal training. And then from the personal training, it was to be able to set someone up to train correctly and minimize injury is to have, I know you're a chiropractor, so you'll totally get this and you can expand on it or correct me. But for me, it was having that perfect posture. If I'm training someone on top of incorrect posture, it's going to make the problem worse. It's going to set them up for injuries. It's not going to get the results they want because we're not going to correct muscle imbalances. So the first thing I want to do is correct the muscle imbalances, stretching, strengthening, pushing, pulling, make sure everything's in alignment. And from there, again, we're not having organ impingement. We're able to get the digestion functioning. And from that, we can get better results from the training. And that's where the sports massage massage therapy came in as well, because it's being able to ease out all of the muscles, to be able to stretch where it's needed, to be able to decrease the recovery time so they can come back stronger and keep training harder. So everything just tied together. But it's like, again, to get those results, my clients like, oh, I want to see results faster. I'm like, well, what are you eating? Your diet is 80% of that. So we're starting to look at the nutrition side. And then from there, okay, great, you're feeding your body. Now what are you putting on your body? So this is where it comes into this whole holistic approach, like my blog, Glamour and Gains by Eve, totally diet-free site. I don't believe in diet plans, crash diets, like none of the BS. Just it has to be a holistic lifestyle that you can maintain. So looking at what are you putting on your body, people forget, right? The skin is the biggest organ. We're doing all these detox diets. I'm like, no. Look at what you're putting in your body and on your body, because you're going to absorb that. So when I started, I was really into luxury cosmetics and loved all my designer ones, but I couldn't get behind, when I started really looking into them, the fact they weren't cruelty free, and the fact when I'm looking at the ingredients, they're all chemicals. Well, that's what I'm putting on my body. So I was like, if I can't find an answer to something, I'm someone who will go out and create, solve an answer to the problem. So as I looked at starting formulating my own cosmetics, because I was wearing them all the time for photo shoots, on stage, in real life, in pageants. And I was like, I need something healthier to be able to put on my skin than just all these alcohol ingredients that are drying them out. So that's kind of how the cosmetics all started. I think that kind of gets us up to date.
I'll tell you what, I love your energy because I'm the hyperactive guy myself, the ADHD, and people say you have ADHD. I say I don't look at this as to label you with what you want. I have a lot of energy and I get a lot of things done. So I have the same I have the same energy, Eve. Let me ask you this, so you saw this when you were dancing, when you were young, with posture and structure and diet. When, people were, there are a lot of people listening, they say, their kids are dancing. This is in history. I'm 54. When I was growing up, we had a sport, and when the sport was over, it was done. There was no year-long training. You went out and you played, and, you did stuff on your own. Now we have, and I'm sure you experienced this with dance, you had dance or ballet all year round, and there were extra sessions. There were hour-long sessions, 2 hours. We are training ourselves to an oblivion, and parents are just worn out by, taking their kids. How big of an effect this is, on their child? Because if we don't start looking at this now for our children, it gets to a point, maybe we can talk about this, that we're in a state of destruction, obesity, cancer, heart disease in our late 20s and 30s, and this could have all been prevented. So how big of an effect, and what should we do when our kids are young?
I think starting off with a good foundation of nutrition and exercise. So ever since I was young, I grew up in the countryside in a village of about 3,000 people in England. And I took it for granted, the foods I was eating, until I came to America. We have fresh vegetables. We'd go to the farm shop and pick out the eggs, and we'd pick the strawberries from the fields. So I didn't ever think, it has to be grass-fed or it has to be organic. It just was. But we always cooked in. We rarely ate out unless it was a birthday or a special occasion. So I grew up knowing how to cook, knowing how to use fresh ingredients in my cooking. And because I was active, they had me. I was doing dance classes 5-6 days a week. I was doing horse riding. I was doing tennis lessons. I was doing music lessons. So I was brought up, that was my lifestyle. So I think setting up your kids from a young age with that great foundation is then setting them up for success in the future with these lifetime habits.
What should parents focus on? They look at these habits and they'll say, well, I'm not in the country, I'm in the city. I'm rushing my kids around to sporting events all night. We get home at 9:00 at night. I don't have time, and I don't want to spend too much time here because I want to get into the fitness and the training and the mindset. But parents, you have to see this is you are in control of your child's lifestyle and behavior. And if you don't start seeing this as a critical stage and steps that you can do to help them get healthy, then you're going to miss out, and their health is going to be devastated by it. What should parents look at if they don't have what you had?
I really like meal prep. I think it's such a time saver. So I prep my food or my protein for the month, once a month. It takes me an hour and a half to cook 10-15 pounds of chicken and fish, and then I weigh it, bag it, put it in the freezer, defrost as I go, and then it takes me 3 minutes to nuke some fresh vegetables. It saves washing up, it saves cooking for hours every day. It's just so convenient. So if you're only prepping the protein and nothing else, it's great. Then you just throw in your fresh vegetables and whatever carb it is. You can even prep rice or sweet potatoes so that you have your carbs ready to go. You're not cooking for 40 minutes a day. You're literally just putting it in the microwave or reheating it, on the stove for 2 to 3 minutes. But just going to the store, I always say, look at the grocery store as a racetrack. So you want to do circuits around the edge. Forget the middle aisle. So that's where all the convenience packaged goods are. And it takes me 10 minutes to do my grocery shopping. Okay, I don't have kids with me, so I get it, mums and dads, it can be harder and it's distracting. But literally I do all the fresh produce is on the perimeter of a store. Every single store, it's always the same layout. So you can literally just power shop. Grab your fruit and vegetables, grab your meat and fish, grab anything else you need, check out, go. There are ways to speed up your time. And there's also loads of really good meal delivery systems right now if you don't have the time to cook.
Yeah, and the point there is you take action. When you said you prep for a month, I was blown away. I'm like, wow, most people say they prep for a couple of days or a week. You're doing it for the whole month, especially with the protein, the chicken. It is. I mean, you could throw that all in the grill or however you want to bake it. You get it all done, freeze it, out it goes. And I agree with you. If my wife does all the cooking, and I just usually grab leftovers, and I never leave the house without food. I never leave without planning and something healthy. So parents, you can do this. Whether I have 5 kids, whether you have 1 kid, 5 kids, 10, we have to take a responsibility there. So.
And I love that you said that, never leave the house without food, because if you do, that's when you grab something on the go and it's unhealthy. Whether it's a snack bar, whether it's granola bar, apple, rice cakes, nuts, dried fruit, there's always something you can throw in your bag that doesn't need refrigerating.
And we do this with our kids. And it's funny, my son, he's my youngest, he's 16, he'll be a sophomore. And I still pack his lunch. And I don't know, at this point, I'm like, dude, you can pack your own lunch. But I know when I pack it, he's getting healthy, organic, nutritious food. And, he laughs. He says, Dad, none of these kids have food like this. But he's healthy. He is ripped. I wish I had his body. He is so, you can see every muscle in his body. So let's dive into the fitness stuff. So you became Mrs. Nevada in 2017. How old were you then?
I was, have to math there, 37.
37. So listen to this, guys. People listening to this episode, you're thinking you have to be 20, 21 to have the body. Eve was 37 and won Mrs. Nevada. How did that happen? And what was your training and mindset like to get to that point that you could be in such incredible shape to do that?
So after dancing, I actually turned to bodybuilding. So I'm a WBFF Pro diva in the bikini division. So don't think like when I say like bodybuilding, like I'm not like this like massive dudes like women. I did the bikini division. So I had that body from that. I actually had to soften up again for the pageants. But again, like we talked about, like the mental side of this from ever since I was 3 and going through dancing, it's always been my lifestyle. So I've always had the discipline and mental strength just to keep training. So I've never really been out of shape. So it's a lot easier if you're in shape, to stay in shape, lose a couple of pounds, tone up, than to try and lose 20 pounds for a pageant or gain 10 pounds of muscle, whatever it is you're trying to do. So that was easier for me. And I actually won Body of the Year by Pageant Planet the year I competed for nationals.
Wow. So what was you hear a lot of women they'll say to me, Dr. Tresser, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get big and bulky. And I always laugh. I lift weights. I lift as hard as I can, as heavy as I can. I train. And I've done what you just said is I just never stop. I don't want to get out of shape. It's easier to stay in shape. And I said, look, ladies, if it were this easy, I would be massive. I'd be a big guy. I said, you're not going to get big and bulky. Can you stifle that myth that if women lift weights, it's going to make them big and bulky? And what should they do? I mean, what kind of program would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things to it. So I will caveat that by saying if you are a woman who isn't producing estrogen and you have higher testosterone levels, yes, you can build muscle more easily. I'm talking about like pro athletes who, don't have periods, and so it's easier to build muscle. But most of the time what you're seeing is you're not actually building, like you're not building bulk, you're leaning out, so the muscles are becoming more visible. And it's also, I would say, if you're scared about that, do Pilates exercises. Make sure you're working within your full range of motion. Don't do half reps. You want to create long, lean muscles. So using that full range of motion, stretching afterwards, doing higher reps, lower weights. But honestly, I mean, you can do reps of 6 to 10. You're really not going to bulk up unless you're on a very, very high protein diet, or taking supplements, and your hormones are a little out of balance. But otherwise, ladies, don't be scared. You can be fit and feminine, and I promote that all on the blog. It's called Glamour and Gains because I want to bring the glamour back to it. I don't want fitness to be scary. I want you to see the feminine, glamorous side of it as well.
And just besides being fit and feminine, I really believe too that this plays a tremendous role in overall health, overall mental health, physical health as we age. When we hit the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, I tell my patients all the time, if you're active and you can move and you can do squats and you can jump around and you can play, if you were to trip on the sidewalk, you're going to probably catch yourself and not just fall to the ground and break a hip. So this carries over to lifestyle and function, not just how we look, but it's empowering. And I'm sure you would agree, Eve, it's empowering when you look at your body and you see health and you see fitness and you see strength. It creates a mental, I think a mental energy that, you feel like you can take on more through the day. How often should women, and this can carry over to men too, but how often should we be lifting weights through the week? What are your guidelines when you work with people?
It depends on what your goal is. Is it to build muscle? Is it to lose weight? Is it to gain strength? What is your goal? And then also, in what time frame, how quickly are you looking to see results? So I've done everything from when I first started bodybuilding. I don't want to scare women here, because I build muscle easily because I don't produce much estrogen and I eat a very, very high protein diet. So when I was lifting, I was on a 5-day split. So I train a different muscle group each day of the week for 5 days. For me, I got too lean with that, not necessarily too bulky, but too lean. So the muscles appeared more visible. So we scaled it back, added more fats, more carbs to my diets, and we took my training down to 2 times a week, because that was the look I was going for in pageants and bikini division. So I literally, because I have fake boobs, I don't train my chest. So I literally do a shoulder day and a booty day, because in bikini and pageants, it's about creating that hourglass shape. So I don't even train my legs because they're already toned from years and years of dancing. Everyone thinks I have calf implants from doing point work. So I had to work on creating muscle balance, being able to turn off the quad muscles because they were very, very dominant from ballet, to getting the hamstrings and glutes fired up so I could train my glutes effectively. And then shoulders, because I think you always look so much fitter when you have these nice toned arms. And then abs, I train once or twice a week, but with higher reps and more sets than I would for other things. And then I do my cardio 6 times a week for 35 to 45 minutes. So I would say anything between 2 to 5 lifting days a week. I wouldn't necessarily, if you're doing total body, do 2-3 times a week total body. If you're breaking it down into body parts, there's really not much need to do it more than once a week, because that recovery is just important. Everyone thinks train, and it really isn't. You're breaking down the muscles. You have to let them recover so you can come back stronger.
Do you see a lot of unhealthy fitness models and bikini models in your, when you're competing, you're side by side with these people, these women? Do you see a lot of unhealthy habits? And how do you look at this? Why are you so healthy? What is making it different?
I think it's like anything. Yes, there are healthy and unhealthy people, like in any sports. There's going to be the cheaters who take the drugs, and then there's going to be the natural athletes. So I actually think it's got better over time. There were a lot of unhealthy ways about doing it before, where people were doing way too much overtraining. They're like doing 2 hours fasted cardio a day. You don't need to do that. It needs to come down back to nutrition. Otherwise, you're just going to set yourself up for metabolic disaster, and you're going to mess with your hormones. So you really want to, it can get to the point where it's unhealthy. You're too lean, you're too overtrained. So I found that it was a very tough struggle, because I wanted to do it as healthily as possible. So what the message I was putting out was the same as what I was doing. There wasn't I wasn't showcasing one body and then telling you something else. It's like, stage ready is stage ready. We look on stage like we do for one day. It's not maintainable. It's not realistic. So when you see those pictures on stage, women, please don't be disheartened, be inspired, but no, that's one day. We've dehydrated, we've taken away water, we've dieted hardcore for it. And then we'll do a reverse training, reverse dieting to get back to normal. I really don't change my weight much for stage. It's literally just, I drop water on the day. I try and stay within 2 weeks of being photo shoot ready year round, so that I'm not putting my body under that strain. So yeah, there's ways of being unhealthy and ways of doing it healthily. And I always say, even if it takes longer, don't cheat yourself. Take pride in the journey, take pride in the results, and do it the proper way.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm glad you hit on that, because a lot of patients, a lot of people that we consult with, with eating and losing weight and getting healthy and exercise, they tend to, they buy a magazine, they pull stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and they see these amazing pictures of people. They're like, this is how they look year round. It becomes natural. This is the way I got to look. And I'm like, stop it. You're not going to look like that. If I were to look at magazines, those type of things inspire me and kind of push me harder, but I don't let it, ruin my life if I can't look like that or become that. It just is a way to motivate me. So women, you're listening, or even men, we can't look at these magazines. There's people that are gifted they have better genetics, they have better body type, and they have a better training cycle because this may be their life. Do what you can and do more of it. Look at Eve, look at people in these magazines as inspirational, motivational, but not an endpoint. So I'm glad you hit on that, because people get frustrated and they say, well, it's like an all or nothing. I tried it, Dr. Stresser, it's not working, so I'm just going to sit on the couch, eat Doritos and ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you can't do that.
And then anything's better than nothing, just starting that first step. And I will say also, we know how to pose. Like, we spend months prepping to pose on stage and for photo shoots, so that we know our best angles to look our best. And then the lighting has to be just right. And we spray tan to make us look more contoured. So there is a lot that goes into it. That's not saying have a goal, but like, also don't be deterred. I don't ever Photoshop my body in photos, because again, I want it to be real and authentic. I might take out some lines on my face, but my body is my body.
Yeah, that's great. And I hope that inspires people to one, let's do what we can, but let's do more than what we're doing. Keep on going. How does this play a role in your mental health? And, we're in the middle of this COVID-19, and people give me the excuse, well, my gym closed down. And I'm like, that's a bad excuse, but they give that excuse, or I just don't have the time, or, whatever those excuses are. This has a role in our mental health, and we're seeing it evident right now. How big is mental health and fitness?
I think it's everything. It absolutely is, because I think how you approach one area of your life is how you approach everything. So it's not just about creating physical strength, it's about creating mental strength. So there's times in the morning where I don't want to go to the gym at 3:00 because that's the only time in the day I've got to go and it's pitch black out. I go because it's you don't want to give that habit of making excuses. You don't want to give that habit of coming up with barriers. You just get on and do it, because it becomes a habit to then start making excuses. And then once you're there, it's tough. Like, it's hard. You have to push through. And again, it gives you that mental fortitude. Whatever you're doing, whatever task you're doing, it doesn't matter how hard it is, you finish it and you can take pride in that accomplishment and that achievement. It just creates so much mental strength and energy and discipline. Like, the discipline I got through dancing and through training goes through everything. People are like, how do you not give up? What do you do when something comes up? I'm like, you just figure it out and you keep going. Like, giving up isn't an option to me. There's finding smarter paths, there's reversing, there's altering what you're doing, but giving up is not an option. And that's definitely come from my training, because I know if I'm not pushing that last rep, someone else is. If I take that cheat cookie, someone else isn't, and their diet's perfectly clean, they're going to beat me on stage. And it's the same in life. I'm always out to do better than my competition.
Can that kind of thinking, can that be destructive?
I don't think so. I mean, because I always believe if you're not growing, you're dying. So you should always be pushing to learn better. Maybe I don't understand your question.
Well, no, you answered it. It's one of those things you'll hear people, and this is an excuse. They'll say, yeah, but if you push yourself that hard, then there's no way out. Then I don't want to push myself that hard. And I look at it and say, but if you're not pushing yourself, you can be satisfied in the journey, but still keep on striving. And I'll tell, my staff always says, they'll say, Dr. Stresser, you don't seem ever satisfied. You always want to keep going for more. And I said, well, I am satisfied, but I'm not sitting at rest. I don't want to sit in my laurels. I want to keep going, because there's more to be done. There's more people to help. There's people dying out there. There's people obese and dying and eating wrong and not fit. Their spine is destructive. They're taking drugs or having surgery. And this isn't an endpoint. I got to keep going. So I agree. I just wanted your quick answer on that, because people will say, well, that's a destructive way of thinking. I believe those people are already in that way of thinking, and they're using that as an excuse. So
yeah, you just nailed that. That was so much more eloquently put than I put it. I couldn't agree more. It's not about perfection. I'm not saying that. It's about constantly looking for improvement, enjoying, celebrating each small milestone, but knowing there's always more. There's something else you can be doing.
Yeah, it's funny. When I play rugby, this past season, last year, we played against a college team, and these kids, they're in class with my daughter. So they're 20 years old, and I'm 54. And
how did that feel the next day?
I'll tell you what, well, it felt fine, because I still know how to play. And they're just learning. So I scored like 3 times. I had an incredible day. And when it was all over, I was on cloud 9 for maybe a day or maybe a week. But the next day I get up and I train again. And the next day I get up and I think, okay, when's the next game? When's the next day? And I don't train just for rugby. I train for my patients. I train for my family. I tell my kids, I'm going to outdo you as long as I possibly can. I'm going to be stronger, faster, better than you as long as I can. And I am in some ways, not all the ways now, but it pushes me and it drives me. Let me ask you this. How do you prepare for the day? How do you prepare your mind to think this way? So people get up and they're like, oh, what am I going to do today? I'm sure that's not what you're thinking. You have this all outlined. How can they share your advice and wisdom on this so they can start adding in some elements to have a better prepared day to win?
Absolutely. So for me, it's just become a habit because it is my lifestyle. So you want to get to that point. But in the beginning, you want to look ahead at the day ahead and think about any possible barrier that's going to come up. What could happen and how are you going to overcome it? And the best thing you can do is prepare for that. So for me, because I do fasted cardio, it's way easier for me just to go to the kitchen in the morning and just eat and go. I always have my gym clothes laid out in the morning. So I just put them on, I go. It's not even a thought in my mind that I'm not going to do it. I put it on, I go, I come back, and it sets me up for the day. So you want to find something that works in your schedule. When is it going to fit in? And then how are you going to make it happen until it becomes a habit and a lifestyle? And then think about your why. Like, your why has to be bigger than your why not. Why are you doing this? Once you understand that, and it doesn't have to be something superficial like I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Think about, why do you want to lose that weight? Is it going to make you feel better? Is it going to make you have more energy and to spend time with your family? Is it going to give you more, make you live longer? Is it going to make you feel better? Is it going to make you more productive at work, which will then in turn make you more money? Think about the bigger why. Once you know your why, you'll find a way over every single barrier.
Yeah, I agree. My dad was a health and phys ed student at local school here in Pittsburgh, and my dad died at age 50 while I was in school of heart disease. And I remember at that point, I drew a line in the sand and I said, this will not be me. I am not going to die at age 50. And I looked at more fitness than I did anything else. I didn't understand chiropractic and I didn't understand nutrition, but my why was, I am not going to die and leave my kids behind. And once you have the why, what you just said is bigger than my why not. I just went on a journey. I started learning nutrition. God led my path. I found chiropractic. I found rugby. I found sports. I found weightlifting. I just continued because my why was, I am not dying. I'm not going to die at age 50. And now at age 54, I feel like I'm 35 or 40. I feel amazing. And we can continue doing this. So if you're listening to this, if you don't have a why, don't try to put clothes out in the morning, like Eve said, before you have a why. Don't try to, okay, I'm going to buy all this organic food. Write out in your journal, why are you going to do this? Is it your kids? Is it your spouse? Is it your grandkids? Is it your life? Is it serving God? What is it? There is a bigger why inside you that will continue pulling you on this journey. So when you get up in the morning and your clothes are sitting there, I'm sure you look at your clothes thinking, oh crap, I got to put these clothes on. You just do it. And because if you do it and you get downstairs and you get to the gym, by the time you start thinking about it, you're already running or moving.
Yeah.
and it's already a part of a habit. So yeah, I love the it's not a thought. If you have to think about it, you can talk yourself out of anything. I put my clothes on, I walk, I have a barn and that's where my weights are. And I get over there and I'm like, don't think. Just put the music on, turn it up loud, and just start going. Don't think, because you'll talk your way out of it.
Yeah, especially if like you've got a long workout and it seems overwhelming to you. It's like, don't think about the workout. Break it down. Like just concentrate on each rep or each step you're doing. Every rep is an achievement.
When you talked about your clients and when you're in personal training, you look at their posture. This is something we always look at as chiropractors, and from their spine to the joints in their shoulders, knees, hips. I mean, we're seeing more hip replacements and knee replacements and shoulder replacements ever in history. And one of my goals is I am going out with all my parts. I'm not going to have hip replacements and knee replacements. And I've been exercising most of my life and they're still healthy. So it's not something you're just going to wear out, but it has to be supported through nutrition and proper posture. How important is posture?
I think it's the start of everything. It's the basis where all your muscles hang off of, all your organs are affected by it. So even with the training, I always ask for feedback. The day after the training, I ask where they're feeling it. Because if I've done a glute workout with them and they're feeling it in the quads the next day, something's not right. So I want to figure it out. I want to make sure the muscles are working in balance. I get them, if they're online clients, once a week, they send me photo check-ins and I tweak the training based on what I'm seeing from the photos. I don't ask for the weight. I don't care. I want to see their bodies, see if we're hitting their goals by what they've shown me, what they've talked me through, and seeing what's imbalance. Sometimes you'll get people with like big biceps but no shoulder caps, sometimes a lot of postural issues where we're sat down all the time and we're really retracted in the chest, so we're doing a lot more chest stretching exercises and back strengthening, pulling exercises. So it's really, once you have that posture, it sets everything else up. Like you can breathe better, and breathing is a basis for everything. That's your like entire energy system.
Yeah, breathing is a big one. We hit with work and with kids being on iPhones at age 5, sitting on a computer, playing video games in school on a computer. They go home and they're riding the bus with their phone, their head tilted forward. Get at home, they do the same thing. This is a mass destruction to their body and their posture, and we are seeing more health problems more than ever. And exercise, fitness, chiropractic, things that are looking at our body and our structure alignment early on is critical. Do you see a lot of, let's say somebody goes through a training and they have right-sided knee pain when they do a leg workout, but not left side? Do you see unilateral pain, and what does that mean?
Definitely. And that's why I like doing a lot of sometimes for me, I actually have one leg longer than the other, so I like to do a lot of single leg exercises rather than using them both, because if I use them both together, my shorter leg does more of the work because more weight's on it. So I work one leg out and then I work the other, because then they both get the equal amount of work, and it tries to help with muscle imbalances. So that is definitely something you want to watch for, because otherwise you'll just start compensating, and that's when you start getting injured. And then if it's outer knee pain, I would also look at the joints above and below and the muscles, because it could be the IT band pulling on the outside of the knee. It could be the calf muscles pulling on the knee. It's not normally that direct joint that's the issue. It's normally above or below.
That's a great point, and I see that a lot with patients. You made an incredible point there with unilateral, like one-sided training. I've done with myself when I've injured my body, but I didn't think of it that way, because when people have curvature in their spine, if it's a high hip, low hip, uneven shoulders, and they're putting these weights on their shoulders for squatting, then that curve in their spine is going to become twisted even more. But if they do even body weight or positional, making sure the posture is balanced, we're going to offset that compression in the spine and compression on one-sided joints. I love that. I think that's great. What
And I'd
about?
also suggest,
Go
I'd also
ahead.
say like try and use barbells, dumbbells, free weights rather than the fixed path machines. I rarely prescribe fixed path machines in my workouts, because they only work for a certain amount of the population. I'm really sure, like, it doesn't matter what I train them to, that machine is in a fixed path and you're not able to use your core as much. So I think when you're doing it, even if you're sitting with the weights, you're using your core a lot more and getting that real strength behind all your movements, which will make you stronger and less prone to injury.
Well, you read my mind, because I was just going to ask you, what do you think about, bars and free weights, and how about bands? And I've been doing a lot of stuff recently with calisthenics. I'm not a gymnast, but I see these people doing these gymnastic moves that are it's incredible on the body. It's not weights, but the strength that I'm developing with the different types of push-ups, pull-ups, handstand push-ups, standing on my hands and balancing. Wow, it is incredible. And it's not strenuous on my joints like some of the weights I did in the past. Do you recommend a lot of that? I mean, we have bands out there. We have different type, the dumbbells and the bands that we can you assist in pull-ups. What do you recommend with offsetting just the traditional weights?
No, I love that. And especially now, because then there's no excuse not to work out at home, right?
Mm,
So if you listen
right.
to this and you're like, oh, well, I can't get to the gym, you can do it at home. I also have a ton of no equipment, total body workouts on my website, Glamour and Gains by Eve. Some are as short as 5 minutes long. And I promise you, you'll wake up sore in the morning. But it's also about not doing the same thing all the time, right? What makes us stronger, what makes us improve is to keep changing things up. So this is a game where it ties into what I said about training coming over into real life and about keep changing things and keep moving forward. So yeah, do dumbbells sometimes and barbells, and maybe do a month of like 12 reps, and then maybe next month do a month of like body weight exercises. Just keep changing it up so your body doesn't know what's coming, and it really, that's where you're going to see your improvements. But I think that's really good, especially if you have any joint issues, is to do the body weight exercises.
Yeah, I love mixing it up. I don't want my body to become used to doing. I don't want to become complacent. I want to just keep shaking it up. Let's transition into here with your cosmetic line. This is interesting. Is, the skin is the largest organ on the body. We put stuff on our skin, on our face all the time, on our hair. And I tell my kids, I said, would you put something on your skin that you wouldn't eat? And they go, Dad, you're crazy. I'm like, well, the skin's an organ. It absorbs whatever you're putting on it. You wouldn't swallow a bar of soap and chemicals. How would you, what's your guideline there? And this is pretty interesting. You've created a line of cosmetics because of this. What do we need to look at? How important is this?
I think, it's so important because, like you said, we are absorbing it, and there are so many side effects. We talked about this before as well, about, the uptick in cancer and all these skin issues and rashes and problems that weren't there before. And people are actually realizing their allergies now. And it can be a minefield. Like, I don't expect people to be able to read ingredients to understand them, because the ingredients aren't easy, because by law, we have to kind of write them in their full scientific names and their Latin terms and all the rest of it. So it doesn't make it easy, but most, companies that are natural and are organic, they're all about promoting that. It's very easy to tell which ones are clean cosmetics, clean skincare, because they're really, really promoting that to set themselves apart and to make it easy for us to see. And it is pretty strict, the guidelines. So if they're saying they're clean, you can pretty much trust it's clean. The same as something saying they're cruelty-free, they have to be cruelty-free to be able to say that. And it's very, very hard to get your certification. Mine's all certified. So it's not just something you can whack on packaging. Yes, there are certain things I would always say to avoid in ingredients, like mineral oil, petroleum jelly. Fragrance is a big one. And we're not talking about like natural essential oils, which are brilliant for giving scent and flavor, which is what I do with my cosmetics. But a lot of like synthetic fragrances are causing the allergies, especially in skincare. DEA, MEA, TEA. These are like kind of the main things to look for, like the sodium and lauryl sulfates. So I always go for sulfate shampoo and conditioner. It won't lather as much, but it's a lot kinder to your hair. So yeah, those are kind of the biggest things I would say. Look for clean, look for cruelty-free on the labels or packaging.
You have a blog. Do you have a lot of this information on your blog? Because this is going to be a lot. I think this is when people get intrigued by this, they're going to start researching and looking. I want them to find the right source. Have you cover this in your blog and on your website?
Yes, and I've interviewed a lot of founders of clean beauty skincare companies, as well as like big names, like Foreo and Fake Bake. So they're people, they're the best in the industry that know their stuff. So all their interviews on there, I have things like, what is clean beauty? We break it down. We have like the top 5 clean beauty products you need. So it's not, and they're affordable, so we're not talking about overhauling everything. I'm not saying like throw everything away. I'd say like be reasonable with things, like just use it up and replace it as you go with clean, cruelty-free items. So everything's on Glamour and Gains by Eve. And if you can't find the answer, honestly, I'm on Instagram all day long. Like, I'm a bit of an addict. And if you have questions, I literally answer every single one of my messages, unless it's from a pervy guy. So send me your questions. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you. I'll be authentic with you, but I will find the answer for you.
And as you're listening to this, all these links are going to be below in the show notes. So don't worry about trying to look at this now. But I'm excited about this, Eve. I have 4 daughters, and they're always trying to find healthy solutions. This is just not my game with cosmetics. But I always, people talk about, skin cancers and the skin. And I remember listening to something or maybe reading something, and I thought, if we're putting all these chemicals on our skin, we're taking all these pharmaceuticals in our body that is coming out in our skin, and then we go out in the sun and let the sun burn us. I thought of this as like a chemical experiment. When you go to the chemistry lab, you put stuff in the Bunsen burner and you heat it. All of a sudden it bubbles over and it explodes. It didn't explode until you heated it. So they always say the sun is so bad, the sun is so bad. I'm like, the sun isn't bad. God created the sun. It's amazing, the vitamin D and the properties it has. But if our body and your skin and your cosmetics full of chemicals, and your body is loaded with chemicals from the food and from pharmaceuticals, and then you go out in the sun, the skin obviously can be a point that gets damaged. So I'm excited to show my girls this and say, we need to learn. And it's tough in today's society, and you know this, Eve, that you're up against a million different other people saying whatever they want. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Well, that's also why I wanted to set my lipsticks and lip glosses apart. And the lipsticks was so important to me because that is your mouth, right? So you're not just absorbing it in your skin, you're literally eating it throughout the day.
Wow.
So Dawes Custom Cosmetics, everything you get on there is going to be completely safe for you. If you want to customize it, you can create your own custom color, scent, fragrance. And we do have them with SPF in as well, because the lips have no natural SPF protection. So you really, really want to talk about the sun and chemical. You really want to take care of your lips by making sure you have some kind of SPF on there. And again, avoiding the petroleum that's just going to burn in the sun. Like, that's just like, hey, let me wax some fat on and go cook in the sun.
What's interesting is people listening don't have to be experts or don't have to go as far as you have. They just have to find the right product. So I'm going to, and I promise you I'll do this, I'm going to go on your site. I'm going to buy some stuff for my girls, my wife, to give them a try. And I encourage listeners, do the same thing. Don't just settle for mediocrity. When you learn something better, change. Start putting less chemicals on your body. By the time you realize you have cancer or disease is when you go, oh crap, maybe I should have lived healthier. Start doing this today. It's amazing. So let me ask you this with chemicals and the United States compared to other countries. I know the US, that we allow a lot more than some other countries. Are you seeing that play out? The other countries, are they better at this than us?
My gosh, yeah. I mean, Europe has thousands and thousands of banned ingredients versus us having a few hundred banned ingredients. But that's where the brands are stepping up for themselves without needing to be regulated. They're hearing it from the consumers, the demand's there, so they're stepping up and making it a better place. And I have to say, I'm really, really impressed with the clean beauty movement and everything that's happened. Even with like the cruelty free, with companies starting to stop, with the things changing in China, and like I make everything in the USA. All my ingredients are from the USA. I make everything here in Las Vegas. So it's like, I think you have to be very, very careful with that. But I'm really excited to see where the cosmetic industry will go. And I'll also I'll send you a discount code to you for your listeners as well that you can put in the show notes.
Awesome. I love it. And thank you for that. And I am glad you're doing things like this because I obviously I live in the United States, and you as well, is we need to keep upping this game in all aspects of health and not just settling. When we settle for crap, we get crap. When we push the envelope, we want to be healthy, it's going to start catching fire. And I encourage people, when you're listening to this show, forward this to other people and say, listen, you need to listen to these shows, Making Pittsburgh Healthy. It doesn't end here either. This is a stepping point. We learn and we grow. We make it a habit, like Eve has done. She gets up, she puts on her workout clothes, whether it's 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. She has her workout clothes on. When she gets going, it's automatic. We need to start implementing these health habits in our life. And once you implement them, I remember learning, this is the same thing with putting stuff on our body, about aluminum being in deodorant. This was way back in chiropractic school. And I remember hearing that thinking, well, the lymphatic system's right under my armpit. I'm putting these chemicals right in my lymphatic system. It's being drawn up, being placed in my brain. I'm like, are you kidding me? I went home and I threw out all the aluminum. I got all natural deodorant.
Likewise. Yeah, absolutely.
And once you do that, same with like maybe your cosmetics or from fitness and training, once you establish that habit, it's done. You don't think about it. It's like, I will never, ever buy a deodorant with those chemicals in it. And it was fun. One day, my daughter, she was probably 15 or 16 at the time, and kids, nobody wants to sweat and stink. So we were leaving the store, and I look over, and she had antiperspirant in her bag. And I pulled it out. I got so mad, I threw it out the window. So I littered, which isn't good. And I'm like, you kidding me? I said, you're poisoning your body. So I got home and I'm like, all right, that was not a good approach. That was a crazy dad approach. So then one day I said, hey, pull out the computer. I want you to look this up. I gave her a health site. I said, look up aluminum and what it does. And she said, well, it causes breast cancer. I'm like, causes breast cancer. That's interesting. And I said, what else does it do? And she said, well, it causes Alzheimer's or dementia or something. And I think it was Alzheimer's. And I said, isn't that interesting? I said, so one day you're going to be walking around, your armpits are going to smell nice, but you're not going to have boobs because they're going to be cut off. And you're going to be walking around in circles in your community because you don't know where you're at. I said, is that what you want? She goes, oh. I said, okay, that was still a little radical, but I think I got my point across.
The point across, yeah.
But and this is women, men. When we look at chemicals we put on our body, shampoos and skin conditioners and makeup, this is the same thing as ingesting something. We have to start looking at this different. Get on Eve's site, buy some products, start adventuring out, start changing the way you live and how you take care of your body. This is an investment. Eve, can you, all the effort you put in through your life, you've put in countless hours, tons of money, tons of time, travel. Your life has been consumed, I'm sure, with fitness and lifestyle. Do you ever look back and think, what a waste of time and money?
Never, ever. Oh my gosh, no. I mean, because everything I've done has put me in the place I'm in today to be able to help other people, to be able to have this company. And I also want to say, actually, the most important thing you can do on the site, you, the consumer, are in control. I actually have a survey on the site because I want to know what you want as consumers. You have the right to be demanding. If you don't tell us, we don't know how to improve, how to get better. So the world is yours. Like, tell us what you want. Tell us what we can do to make it better for you. Because if I can do it, then other brands can follow suit as well. Like, it's not just about me. It's not competition. Is about getting everyone as much as they can, like the healthiest, best products they can as easily as possible. But no, it's never going to be a waste. It's all just an investment, and there's no better investment than investing in yourself, because how can you help anyone else if you're not there ready to show up?
I was setting you up for that answer, and I knew you were going to deliver, because I would think the same thing. There's never, all the time and effort I put in, I told a patient the other day, I said, if I would have not spent any money on fitness, education, training, travel, on bettering my mind, on all this natural stuff I've done, books, I said, I could have $1 million house down the street. And I laughed. They're like, oh yeah. And I said, however, I have $1 million body. I said, I'd rather take that because I have to live in this the rest of my life. The house or something, possession, comes and goes. So this is an investment, and you'll never go wrong by investing in natural products, natural health, fitness, time and energy into yourself. So that's awesome. As we kind of wrap this up, Eve, any closing thoughts that you would like to make sure our listeners know and understand?
I just think it's a lot of content we've thrown at you today. So like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's at Eve Dawes on Instagram. I'm more than happy to help you, whatever I can do, because I know he was talking about the investment there. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult. The answers are out there. So yeah, just take that first step. Like whatever you're doing, just one step in the right direction is a start.
I love it. And I so appreciate you being on the show. And one last question. Do you have any fun, crazy plans for the near future?
Well, I'm hoping to get to Sri Lanka, and I'll reveal that the reason why a bit later down the line. But yes, hopefully I'll be in Sri Lanka in November if all this craziness starts to dissipate, and I'll be sharing my message over there, and also trying to promote about the Cancer Society, cancer awareness, and raise money for them.
I love it. And you shared with me a little secret that I'm not allowed to say, so I'm not going to tell anyone, but you've got to follow Eve and listen what is coming up. This is really cool. And I am so glad we could have you on our show today. This is exciting. I feel very connected to what your belief is. I think we have the same energy, the hyperactivity, and the go, go, go. I get inspired every time I do an interview. When I interview people, I get more inspired to just keep on going. And I want to share this message with as many people as I can. So please, folks, share this. Get on Eve's site, download her information, listen to the blogs, keep pouring this education in, and don't forget to let others know so we can change this world. So Eve, thank you for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure to share that. I absolutely love all this stuff and being able to help anyone in any small possible way.
Thank you.